In this episode, I'm gonna show you how to prepare well for the recording session. So as a professional musician, every couple of years we are preparing the new album for our listeners. And with every album recording, we are trying our best to prepare as good as possible. And there are some steps in the process of preparation to the recordings. And I will show you that in this episode. You probably don't know that, but I'm a guitar player and I'm playing guitar for a band which is called Tides from Nebula, and the album preparation which I'm talking about is our album number 6. So we kind of a experienced band at this moment. So anyway, most of the band starts with writing the album, and of course we did that already. In a professional word it's called pre-production, but it's just a fancy word for writing and preparing the arrangements for the songs you're gonna record for the album. For every usual band, the next step would be find a recording place, recording studio where they would, record the stuff, right? But we are not the usual band and we are in a bit different situation actually. So as you can see, I'm in the recording studio at this very moment, and this is our studio. I mean, it belongs to me and our drummer Stołek. So for us the obvious thing is to use our own skill set and our own resources and our own studio and record it here. And I'll tell you the secret, it's not gonna be the first time when we did that. 5 minutes ago, Stołek, who you will see on this channel more and more probably in future videos. Anyway, he just came back from the music store collecting the stuff which we would need for the recording, and in this case he got some new skins for the kicks.
This time I will check Emperor Clear. Most of the time I use Power Stroke 3, but I don't know, maybe we'll check more open sound now.
It's a single Just try to be prepared gear-wise before the recording sessions. Just think about the songs you're gonna record. Choose the right gear, not to be surprised during the recording sessions that you might have an idea for the sound, but you don't have actually a gear to achieve that sound. There's a lot more to be bought before the session. Of course, lots of guitar and bass, strings, percussion stuff. Actually, it's funny because I'm just finding some random stuff in the studio because lots of musicians just forget about the stuff. Actually, half of this box here, which is some percussion stuff, it's actually left by the musicians, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good shaker.
Actually, in our studio, I mix most of the stuff and Stołek is running recording sessions most of the time. I couldn't count how many times Stołek told me how awful the skins conditions were when the drummers came. Even there were cases of just taped skins. So if you want your stuff to sound good, just prepare some money for that, unfortunately. Sometimes the old skins might sound good if you're playing some vintage stuff, but I'm not talking about this scenario. I'm just talking about being a bit cheap with your preparations. I am aware that not all of you might have such money to prepare so well for the session, but I highly recommend you to, maybe borrow the drum set from your friend or borrow the cymbals. There's another thing. Cheap cymbals can ruin your whole drum sound. They're super important for the whole general sound of the drum set. So please try to get as best sounding cymbals for your recording session. I know that there are different opinions about, for example, strings, if they should be brand new or they should be a bit played before the session. I am on the side of rather using the fresh new strings. I have some pretty cool techniques to just stretch the strings to make them stay in tune immediately after putting them on the guitar. So my tactic actually is to just have at least 2 to 3 sets of strings for every guitar, because I think I will change the strings in every guitar after 2-3 days of recordings. Okay, so maybe let's just quickly show you how I stretch my strings to make them stay in tune right after you put them on. So let's just say I've just put the new strings here on this guitar, tune it the first time, but right after that I can guarantee you that the guitar will be really quickly out of tune. So what you're gonna do is to just take one string, put your elbow here on the bridge, second hand here near the nut, and you just put it here and just stretch this string quite heavily. It's just like 2 centimeters above the 12th fret. Make it out of tune, and then after that just do the same thing with all the strings and tune the guitar again. Do the stretching again and tune the guitar again, and do that as many times as needed to make the strings not to get out of tune after you stretch them. Sometimes it's like 10 rounds, sometimes it's 15 rounds of just, you know, stretching and tuning, but after that your guitar is ready to record. Okay, I've been talking a lot about gear in the context of preparing for the recording session, but actually the most important thing before entering the studio is to make a good pre-production. And what I mean by that, let me just show you. Our writing process and pre-production is basically working on tracks in the same room and just writing music together. And as all the tracks at this moment are ready to be recorded, we all have to learn our parts. Luckily, we have all the recordings here in Pro Tools, so I can listen to the guitars individually, learn how to play them. Remembering so many guitar parts might be pretty hard. I will just play you only guitars because I don't want to spoil the songs which are not released yet. This particular song is in some unusual time signature. I believe it's 7/4. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Maybe I'll just play 5 seconds for you. My goal right now is to learn every track from every song. Basically, it's not like a verse, chorus, verse, some bridge, and a solo. So it's rather kind of an atmospheric instrumental post-rock music. Layers of guitars, which I have to figure out again. Same thing needs to be done by our bass player Przemek and our drummer Stołek. So they also have their tracks here. With the bass guitar, it's obviously much easier. But for example, our bass player is also playing most of the keyboard parts, so that's a lot to learn for him also. Actually, I believe most of the musicians these days record their stuff on their computers and they just check how they sound when you listen to it, not in a super high volume. And this is actually what I would recommend you to do. But there are also another group of musicians or bands which only rehearse the material in their practice space, but they never recorded before entering the studio. This might be a huge mistake. Let me explain. I don't know how many times I've been in a situation where I record the band, I'm in the middle of recording sessions, and suddenly 2 guitar parts of 2 guitar players are just totally not working together. You know what is the reason? They never recorded it before, and during the rehearsals in a rehearsal room, they never noticed that maybe the other guy's part doesn't fit my part very well. Okay, my dog knows how to chill in the studio. And really, believe me, you don't have to own a fancy recording gear to record a decent demo before you enter the real studio. There's so much stuff you will not notice during the rehearsals, and you will notice them during the listening process, so I really highly recommend you to record the demo, no matter what. Another important stuff about preparing your instruments, just check if your guitars can stay in tune and if the intonation is on. The band comes in and the guitars are just unusable because they are not in tune and you can't tune them actually. So just try to take care of that up front. The final tip, which is probably also the most important one, I'm not sure if you're gonna like it, but you have to put some work in before entering the studio. You have to learn your parts very well. The stuff which you are barely able to play during the live performance or the rehearsals are not gonna be welcome in the recording environment. And I can point you two major problems which are happening the most of the times in the studio. The first one is a general one and it applies to all the musicians. A lot of times they struggle with playing on time. So just put on the click track and practice, please. And the second one is exclusive for drummers, which love to overcomplicate their parts. I know, we all did it. We all want to impress the other musicians, but please try to serve the song. Not all the bands needs Dream Theater parts in it. So just please try to simplify your stuff and I can guarantee you that most of the times it will work better. Okay guys, I have to go right now and prepare for the recording session, so just subscribe and see you in the next one. Cheers!